Welcome back to Us Mint Mysteries. If you think those old nickels sitting in your change jar aren't worth more than 5 cents, you might be in for the shock of your life. Because today, we're uncovering 6 ultra-rare War Jefferson nickels that could secretly be worth a small fortune even if they look worn, dull, or damaged. Some of these coins, hiding in plain sight, have sold for prices that make collectors' jaws drop. We're talking thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. And you could be holding one right now without even knowing it. Now, let's start with one of the most fascinating pieces of World War II coinage, the 1944p Jefferson War nickel. At first glance, this old nickel might not look like much. The surface may appear dull, a bit gray, and worn down from decades of circulation. But don't let that fool you. This coin holds one of the most interesting stories in U.S. minting history and possibly one of the biggest surprises in your pocket change. During World War II, nickel metal was a critical war material. It was used in armor plating, weapons, and other essential military equipment. Because of that shortage, the U.S. Mint made a bold move. From 1942 to 1945, Jefferson nickels were struck not from nickel at all, but from a special wartime alloy, a mix of silver, manganese, and copper. And that's exactly what makes the 1944p nickel so special. It's one of the few 5-cent coins in American history made of real silver. If you look closely above Monticello on the reverse, you'll see a large mint mark P. That's right, it's the very first time in U.S. mint history that the letter P was ever placed on a coin to represent the Philadelphia Mint. Before 1942, Philadelphia coins didn't use any mint mark at all. So this coin not only carries history, it marks a turning point in American numismatics. Now, the coin you're seeing, a 1944p in fine condition, may show heavy wear, flattened details on Jefferson's cheek and hair, and smooth steps on Monticello. But even with all that wear, this coin can still surprise you. A circulated example like this might fetch around $5 to $15 in the average market, mostly for its silver content and wartime legacy. But that's only the beginning of the story. Here's where it gets shocking. And circulated examples of the 1944p, those that still shine with their original mint luster, can bring anywhere from $150 to $2,000, depending on how clean and sharp the details are. But if you ever come across a full step example, where all 6 steps on Monticello are crisp and well-defined, buckle up. Those are extremely rare and can skyrocket to $15,000 or more at auction, and it doesn't stop there. There's a secret variety most collectors don't even know about, the double eye error, where Jefferson's eye appears doubled under magnification. It's a striking minting mishap, and depending on the grade, this error coin can fetch upwards of $25,000. Sometimes even more if certified by PCGs or NGC. Some pristine examples have stunned collectors, reaching jaw-dropping prices approaching 6 figures, especially when found in untouched wartime rolls. So imagine this: that dull-looking 1944p nickel in your change jar could actually be a silver-bearing wartime coin, the first with the P mint mark in history, and possibly an error piece worth thousands. That's not just pocket change, that's history disguised as a 5-cent coin. If you ever find one, handle it carefully, check the steps on Monticello, look for doubling under the eye, and consider having it professionally graded. Even in fine condition, it's part of a rare chapter in U.S. coinage, and it deserves respect. Next up, we move to a coin that truly marked the beginning of an era, the 1942p Jefferson War nickel. Now, this one's special. It doesn't just represent a change in design or material. It represents a nation adapting in the middle of World War II. And if you've got one lying around, especially one with that deep, dark, almost black-toned surface, don't brush it off too quickly. That dark patina could be hiding a small piece of history that collectors go crazy for. Let's go back to 1942. America was deep into the war effort. Nickel metal was critical for weapons, tanks, and aircraft, so the mint had to find another way to make our 5-cent coins without using actual nickel. That's when the silverware nickel was born, made from an alloy of 35% silver, 56% copper, and 9% manganese. For the first time, Jefferson nickels carried that large, proud mint mark above Monticello, P, for Philadelphia, just like this one. That big P wasn't just a letter. It was a symbol of change, of sacrifice, and of America's resilience during one of the toughest times in history. Now, your 1942P in fine condition might have that black shade because of oxidation and silver toning that developed over decades. The darker surface, sometimes mistaken for dirt or corrosion, is actually a natural patina that can add character and, in some cases, value. In fine condition, this coin might bring about $10 to $25. That might not sound shocking yet, but here's where things start to heat up. When you find a 1942P in higher grades coins that still have full luster, clean surfaces, and that silvery glow, prices jump fast. Mint state examples often sell between $300 and $2,000, depending on strike quality and step detail. But if you manage to uncover a full steps 1942P, where the steps of Monticello are perfectly clear and uninterrupted, you're looking at something incredibly rare. In top grades, these have sold for more than $12,000 to $18,000, and that's just for a standard strike. But what really sets hearts racing are the wartime errors. There are 1942P nickels with doubled dies on the reverse, especially around the words Monticello and 5 cents. Some even show strong doubling on Jefferson's eye and the date itself. These mistakes slipped past the mint's watchful eyes during the rush of wartime production. And when one of these surfaces in pristine condition, they can bring in staggering figures: $50,000, $75,000, sometimes even over $100,000 in major auctions. Collectors love this coin because it was the first year of the wartime composition, and because of that, it bridges two different worlds of minting, before and during the war. The earlier 1942 nickels made of regular nickel alloy exist too, but the silver versions with the big P mark stand in a class of their own. So, when you see that black shaded 1942P Jefferson nickel, don't dismiss it. That's not just an old coin, that's a witness to wartime innovation, a silent piece of silver that tells the story of a nation under pressure. Every tiny nick, every worn edge, it all speaks of the 1940s, the soldiers, the factories, the rationing, and the spirit of America that turned even a simple nickel into a piece of military history. And who knows, your dark, worn little coin might just be the one with the hidden minting error, worth more than a brand new car. Moving on, let's talk about one of the hardest hitting silver war nickels, the 1943S Jefferson nickel. At first glance, this one might look tired, even a little rough around the edges. Your coin in no fine condition might show heavy wear, dark patches, and nearly flat details across Jefferson's face and Monticello. But don't let that worn look fool you for a second. This is one of those pieces that hides a shocking story right beneath the surface. The year 1943 was one of the peak years of World War II. The U.S. Mint was in full production mode, striking millions of war nickels to keep the economy moving, while nickel metal was reserved for the war effort. The San Francisco Mint, marked by that bold S above Monticello, was responsible for producing some of the sharpest and most beautifully struck examples of the wartime alloy: 35% silver, 56% copper, and 9% manganese. But here's where it gets fascinating. Even though the 1943S was produced in large numbers, finding one that's well struck and still has those famous full steps is like finding a needle in a haystack. Most coins from this batch suffered from weak strikes or heavy wear, just like the one you're seeing here. But a perfectly preserved version? That's where the wow factor really kicks in. A heavily circulated 1943S nickel like yours, in rough condition, might only fetch $5 to $10 based on its silver content. But when you climb up the grading scale, the numbers start to jump, and fast. Uncirculated examples in mint state grades easily reach $300 to $1,000, especially those with strong luster and minimal marks. However, here's the twist that shocks even seasoned collectors: a pristine, full-step example of the 1943S has fetched over $15,000 at auction. and some coins with perfect surfaces, deep mirror-like fields, and top-tier certification have crossed $25,000 to $35,000. But the biggest jaw-dropper? Certain varieties and rare double die examples have reached astronomical prices of $100,000 to $200,000 when authenticated. That's right, a 5-cent wartime coin, worth more than a luxury car. Now, let's talk about why this year's San Francisco issue is so special. The S mint mark is often seen with slight variations in size and placement. Some have a large S, others a small s, and a few show a tilted S, all tiny differences that drive collectors wild. These minor variations can push the value far beyond the standard price chart, and if you happen to find one of those ultra-rare double die reverse errors, where the words Monticello and 5 cents look slightly doubled, you've just hit the jackpot. These are the hidden gems that transform a coin from a few bucks into a staggering fortune. So even though your 1943S nickel may look worn and lifeless, remember this coin was born in the middle of war. It's made from silver that helped preserve nickel for the military. It's a small, silent reminder of the sacrifices America made. Every scratch, every dull mark. It's a story of factories running day and night, of young men overseas, and of a nation that needed every ounce of metal it could get. Imagine finding one of these tucked in an old coin jar or passed down in a family collection. It might look ordinary, but that tiny S mint mark could turn it into a life-changing discovery. And that's the magic of these wartime nickels. Next up, we're stepping into one of the most iconic wartime nickels of all, the 1943p Jefferson nickel, a true product of America's World War II resilience. At first glance, your coin might appear dull, worn, or just another old nickel with some dark toning and faded details. But don't be fooled. This is one of those pieces where the deeper you look, the more unbelievable the story and the potential value becomes. The 1943p was struck at the Philadelphia Mint right in the middle of the war, when the demand for nickel metal was sky high for tanks, aircraft, and weapons production. That's why, once again, the mint used its special wartime composition, 35% silver, 56% copper, and 9% manganese. So, yes, this humble 5-cent coin actually contains real silver. And if you look closely, you'll see that large, proud P mint mark above Monticello, a symbol of America's wartime ingenuity and a first in U.S. minting history. Now, your 1943p in fine condition shows the marks of time. Jefferson's cheek and hair might be smooth, the steps of Monticello nearly gone, and the field slightly gray or even darkly toned. In this state, the coin usually fetches around $10 to $20, mostly for its silver value and collectible interest. But here's where the story takes a dramatic turn. The hidden versions of this coin can be worth life-changing money, and circulated examples of the 1943p, those that still shine with their original mint luster, can bring $200 to $1,000 depending on strike sharpness. But when you move up into the elite territory, coins with perfect full steps on Monticello, that's where the big numbers start. In top grades, full step 1943p nickels have sold for more than $15,000. That's right, a nickel worth more than a college tuition payment. And it gets even crazier. Among the 1943ps, there are a few error varieties that have stunned collectors. The most famous, the 1943p doubled eye variety, an incredible minting error where Jefferson's eye appears doubled under magnification. It's subtle, but when spotted, it can change everything. Depending on grade and condition, this error can bring $25,000 to $50,000, and in pristine condition. Some have even hit 6 figures at major auctions. There's also a striking die break error that leaves a raised crack across Monticello or through the date. Rare, dramatic, and highly collectible. These oddities, born from the mint's wartime pressure, make 1943p one of the most searched for coins among nickel enthusiasts. What makes this coin even more fascinating is its place in American history. Every single 1943p nickel carries a bit of silver that was once part of the nation's war effort. It's a coin minted not just for commerce, but for victory. That blackened, silver-toned color you see on older pieces? That's not damage. That's the oxidation of wartime silver, a badge of authenticity and age. Now imagine this: millions of these were made, but only a few survive today in untouched condition. Out of all those coins that once passed through soldiers' hands, vending machines, and post-war pockets, only a handful remain flawless. Those are the ones bringing in jaw-dropping numbers: $50,000, $75,000, even more for a perfect, certified example with full steps and deep luster. So the next time you spot a 1943p nickel with that large P mint mark and a silvery tone, take a second look. That's not just a coin. It's a piece of wartime America forged during a global crisis, carrying both silver and history in its core. And who knows, the one sitting in your collection might just be the next big discovery waiting to shock the collecting world. Stay tuned, because the next coin we're about to uncover is even rarer and more valuable one that takes the wow factor to a whole new level. Next up, we turn our attention to one of the hardest to find wartime nickels, the 1942 Jefferson nickel, a coin that marks the dawn of America's silver 5-cent era and one of the most intriguing transitions in U.S. mint history. Now, at first glance, your coin in no fine condition might not look like much. The details on Jefferson's face are probably smooth. The word Liberty may have faded into the rim, and Monticello might be little more than a ghostly outline. But don't underestimate this worn piece of metal, because even in this state, it's a living relic from a time when every coin told the story of a world at war. Let's rewind to 1942. America had entered World War II, and the mint was scrambling to conserve critical materials. Nickel was vital for weapons and armor, so it had to go. That's when the San Francisco Mint began striking nickels made not of nickel, but of 35% silver, 56% copper, and 9% manganese. That shift was revolutionary, and the 1942 was among the very first coins ever made with this wartime composition. If you flip the coin and look just above Monticello, you'll spot the big, bold S. That oversized mint mark was intentionally placed to help the mint easily remove these silver coins from circulation after the war, but, of course, most of them never came back. They vanished into pockets, drawers, and family jars, the same kind of places collectors are rediscovering them today. Now, because your 1942 is heavily circulated, its surface might have that dark gray, almost smoky tone. It's often mistaken for dirt or damage, but it's really the result of decades of oxidation, the natural aging of silver. Even in this worn state, the coin carries value, usually around $10 to $20, but that's only the base. When you start talking about uncirculated examples, that's when the numbers climb fast. A clean, bright 1942 in mint state condition can easily reach $300 to $1,000, depending on how crisp the strike is. But if you manage to find one with perfect full steps, meaning every stair on Monticello is clean, separate, and sharp, then hold onto your hat. Those examples can hit $10,000 to $20,000 at auction, especially when graded by PCGs or NGC. And if that wasn't enough, there are some rare and shocking errors tied to this year that have left collectors speechless. Some 1942 nickels were struck using leftover pre-war planchets, made of the old copper nickel alloy instead of silver. Those are nearly impossible to spot by eye, but a quick magnet test can tell the story. Wartime nickels aren't magnetic, while regular ones are. If your 1942 sticks to a magnet, you might just have one of the rarest minting blunders ever, potentially worth $50,000 to $100,000 or more in top condition. There are also double die varieties, especially noticeable on the reverse lettering Monticello and 5 cents, showing a faint but visible doubling. These subtle minting errors have fetched 25,000 plus, especially in uncirculated grades. Just imagine a coin that looks dull and worn, sitting in a coffee can or an old cigar box for 80 years, suddenly turning out to be worth more than a luxury car. What's truly special about the 1942 is that it represents the very start of the wartime nickel series. It's a coin born out of necessity, minted at a time when every ounce of metal mattered. And that's what makes it so powerful to collectors today. Each 1942S tells the story of a country adapting to survive, of the mint's ingenuity, and of the small but vital changes that shaped our coinage forever. So the next time you come across a worn-out 1942S, with that S gleaming faintly above Monticello, pause for a moment. You're not just holding an old nickel, you're holding the first chapter of America's wartime minting history. And somewhere out there, one of these nickels, struck just a bit differently, could still be waiting to shock the coin world with a six-figure discovery. And now, let's turn our attention to one of the most groundbreaking coins in all of U.S. wartime history, the 1942p Jefferson nickel. Now, you might be looking at your coin and thinking, this old thing? It's worn, dull, maybe even worthless. But hold on, because this one, even in no fine condition, carries a story that changed American coinage forever. This isn't just another nickel. This is the first Jefferson coin ever struck in silver, and the first to ever carry the P Mint mark of the Philadelphia Mint. That's right, before 1942. The Philadelphia Mint had never put its letter on any U.S. coin, but when the war hit and nickel metal was needed for military armor, everything changed. America was in the fight of its life, and every piece of metal mattered, so the mint had to adapt fast. Out went the standard nickel composition, and in came a brand new alloy, 35% silver, 56% copper, and 9% manganese. The 1942p was the first to use that new silver formula, revolutionary wartime mix that not only saved vital resources, but also gave this coin its distinctive look. When freshly minted, these coins had a bright silvery sheen, but over the decades, they've darkened, some taking on a smoky gray or even blackish tone, a beautiful patina that tells the story of age and authenticity. Now, your 1942p in no fine condition, worn, faded, and well-traveled might look far from valuable. In this state, it typically brings $5 to $15, mostly for its silver content. But don't let those numbers fool you. The 1942p is one of the most historically desirable coins for collectors. And when you find one in pristine condition, things escalate fast. A clean, bright uncirculated 1942p can sell for $250 to $1,000 depending on the strike. And if you're lucky enough to find a full steps example, where every line of Monticello's staircase is sharp and perfect, that's when you start entering big money territory. $10,000, $15,000, even $25,000 for top-graded specimens. And in rare cases where the surfaces are flawless and deeply lustrous, these coins have fetched values close to $50,000 at major coin auctions. But here's where things get even more electrifying: the errors. Some 1942p nickels show what collectors call the doubled eye error, where Jefferson's eye appears doubled when viewed under magnification. It's subtle, but it's one of the most sought-after wartime errors in existence. A clear, strong doubled eye coin, certified by PCGs or NGC, can fetch $30,000 to $60,000, and some have even broken the six-figure barrier in gem condition. There's also a known repunched mint mark variety, where the P above Monticello was punched twice, slightly misaligned. Those are rare and highly collectible, often valued in the 10,000–25,000 range depending on clarity and condition. What makes this coin so captivating isn't just the silver or the rarity, it's the symbolism. The 1942p was born during one of the darkest times in modern history. Every coin represented American resourcefulness, sacrifice, and innovation. It's a coin that carries the weight of history, literally forged in the fires of war. As soldiers fought across the world and citizens at home saved scrap metal for victory. So, even though your 1942p may look plain, with flattened details and years of circulation behind it, it's far from ordinary. That coin is the beginning of the entire war nickel legacy. It's the one that started it all, the mint's first silver 5-cent piece, the first to bear the Philadelphia P, and one of the most historically powerful designs ever produced. And the best part, there are still discoveries being made today. Rolls of 1942p nickels continue to reveal new die varieties, new errors, and sometimes coins that have sat untouched for 80 years, bursting onto the auction scene for tens of thousands of dollars. So, before you toss that old 1942p into a jar, or trade it for silver melt value, take a closer look. That little gray nickel could be a once-in-a-lifetime treasure, a piece of wartime history worth far more than anyone would expect.